Hey, so let's get busy with converging lines. Converging lines in architectural photography is when two parallel lines, like the sides of a building, seem like they're leaning and pointing towards each other as you look further and further up. This phenomenon is exaggerated with wide-angle lenses or when you're looking up very tall buildings to try and include the top of the building in your shot. You get those converging lines. So I'm going to show you 3 methods that have varying degrees of effect on your final image and the reimagining of that image. So you know the question. Are you ready? It's Photoshop time, and you know the drill. Smack it, whack it, and crack-a-lack it.
Yes! That's awesome! What?
All right, so once the image is opened in Photoshop, the first way to manipulate the verticals is through a manual crop drag. So first, I'll select the background layer, hit Command or Control J, because I always like to duplicate it, so I'm never working on the original. And then I'll come over to my rulers, which are already open. If yours aren't, just go up to View and put a check mark beside rulers, or memorize the shortcut Command or Control R for rulers. Then you can hover over those rulers. Quick side and aside about the rulers, you can right-click on them and you can make them inches, you can make them points, you can make them pixels, whatever your unit of measurement is. So I can click and drag, and I'm going to drag a line there, drag one to here, and I'll drag one to this side. And as far as what's level, I think this facing edge here and here are probably the closest to being level. So I'm going to hit Command or Control T. That's going to activate the free transform. And again, you can find this by going up to Edit and then coming all the way down to free transform, or again, Command or Control T. It tells you right here. Once you get the bounding box on the outside, all you have to do is hold down the Command or Control key, Command on Mac, Control on Windows, and choose the uppermost corner and just drag it straight out. And it's going to straighten up those lines for you. If you get to a part where it won't let you drag anymore, you need to shrink the entire image down in your viewing window. And you can do that by hitting Command or Control minus. That was one tap. And now I can hold down the Command key and just drag that out until that vertical looks vertical. I'm looking right here, and it looks like the space all the way down looks pretty even. So now I just need to fix this side. I'm going to do that by holding the Command key and clicking on the right and dragging it straight out until it looks pretty good. Now notice what's happening. I'm now affecting this other side. This becomes a bit of a tug of war. You're never going to get it quite perfect, but a lot of times you don't want it exactly perfect. Here we've roughly fixed the verticals. The lines are still skewed in the background, and now we've made the building look a little like squat. So I would try to fix that by holding the Shift key and just grabbing the center and just stretching it up a little bit, trying to recapture some of the tallness of the original image. And hit Enter. I'll go up to View and remove the guides by clicking Clear Guides. Command 0 to fill in the screen. And I'll toggle to see where we were. There's where we were. And here's where we ended up. Now for me, this particular one, this adjustment doesn't work great for this image because it was so dramatically skewed in the original. Like I feel like this area is just too stretched out. It doesn't look natural. So, but that's an option. For some photographs, that is a perfect and quick option. So I'm going to hide that, but I love the gothic drama that's happening in this particular image. So I want to lose that feeling just to get straight verticals. So Command or Control J, the background, duplicates the layer for me. Now let's use the Adaptive Camera Wide Angle filter. You can find that under Filter, Adaptive Wide Angle. So this dialog box, if it can, it will pick up on the camera's metadata, which here it's not finding the metadata. But if it found the metadata, Photoshop would be able to know the exact amount of distortion based on their image data bank. Here we don't have that ability, so it's just automatically chosen fisheye because it detects so much skewing that it thinks it's a fisheye. So anyway, I'm going to choose the Constraint Tool and I'm going to click and just pull straight down holding the Shift key, and it's going to straighten that line. I'm going to click holding down the Shift key and click again. It's going to straighten that line. I'm going to click this edge of the house and pull it down to straighten that edge of the house. Click and drag on that edge of the house, and then click and drag on that side of the building. And then these look like they're facing us, especially this one. So I'm going to snap this to level, and then I'll try to snap this one to level. It's the only two things that look level. Everything else looks like it's running at a diagonal. All right, let's try this. I'm going to click on this side and come all the way over. See how it's trying to fix what it thinks is the curved fisheye? And here it's actually not doing such a bad job. Not doing great. Doing better in this middle area, but it's falling off as I get further and further out. But let's see how it does. That's really not so bad. It dropped the ball here. So let's see if I can add another line right there. Okay, that fixed that little line, and maybe put one in back here for the fences, put one here for this fence. And essentially, I'm just trying to add some different points to keep the important areas straight. Looks like this is curved and this is curved. So you see there's a lot of manual dragging with this one. I'll click OK. And I'll turn this, let's see where we were. So we're here, and we got to here. And I need to do some cropping by hitting the C for the crop tool and cropping in. Started here, got to here. And for me, I feel like this is much better than the original, but it possibly is a little overcorrected. So I'd hit Command or Control T to combine the effects and just slide this in just a touch. I'd consider stretching it up just a touch. Click Enter, bring it in a little bit if I cropped out too much. And that's a pretty powerful fix. Now, let's go with the last one, the geometry feature in Adobe Camera Raw. Let me back up from the crops. I'll hit Command or Control J. And I'll go over to Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Inside of here, the geometry, and I'll click Automatic, and it'll make its best guess, and it doesn't have the camera data, remember, so it's just literally guessing based on some of the lines. But I can click on Squish the vertical lines and make sure those vertical lines are 100% vertical. And this is typically what you get, something that's a bit more extreme in its correction. So he's like, well, how about horizontal? Horizontal is not a big issue in this image. How about if you do level, horizontal, and vertical? I didn't see a big change. Now, if you go to where you draw your own guides, you only get 4. So you've got to choose them wisely. So I'm going to say the 2 sides of this are most important, and making this level. And I guess I'd like to fix this vertical. Click OK. Do you see there's kind of problems with whichever one we go to? So here's where we were, which is actually a more interesting image than this corrected image. I have the option of hitting Command or Control T just to skew it in just a little bit. I like to modify the correction a touch. And I feel like this one made it a little too tall. Command minus to shrink it in. This one actually needs to be stretched out at the bottom just a touch so it's visually more pleasing. Hit Enter, Move tool, turn that off. So I'd have to crop this pretty significantly with this correction, almost to a square. So let's see where we were. We started here and we ended here. Actually, I enjoyed this particular correction a lot. What I wanted you to see is there are 3 core ways to fix converging lines in your architectural shots. You decide which one works best for your particular image, your workflow, and always know that you can stack these however you would like. So remember, this was the manual one. I can now pop over to the Camera Raw filter, even though I've manually adjusted this with the crop tool, and I can just say, tweak it. And you see how it gave it a better tweak than it had before? You decide what you like. I hope this has helped.
Yes!
Hey, what are you still doing here? It's over. Actually, all kidding aside, I hope this video helped. And if it did, consider subscribing. I like subscribers.
That's awesome! What? You just took one in the jugular, man! Whoa! Yes! God, I did.
Hey, you stayed to the end. You know what that means? You're awesome. I'm talking about you. Now get out of here.